Resources Private Limited.
Welcome students to an enriching learning journey ahead with Wood Apple Resources. Class 5 EVS. I'm your teacher Vani. Here are your friends.
I am Ruby. I am Abby.
Dear students, today I'm going to teach you Chapter 16, Scaling New Heights. Hello students, I have a fun question for all of you. What types of adventure sports do you think are available in the Himalayas? Imagine you're surrounded by snow-covered peaks and cool mountain air. What exciting activities can people do there?
Skiing. People can ski down the snowy slopes. I think people can go trekking through the mountains. Paragliding. It must be amazing to fly above the mountains.
Great answers. You're absolutely right. In the Himalayas, people love to do skiing, trekking, rock climbing, and paragliding. There's also mountaineering for those who want to climb to the highest peaks. And some even enjoy river rafting in the fast-moving mountain rivers. So the Himalayas offer a lot of fun and adventure. And here's something interesting. The word Himalaya in Sanskrit means the abode of snow. It shows how snowy and magical these mountains are. Now, we are going to talk about adventure sports in the Himalayas and hear about Arya's exciting trip to the Kulu and Manali. Now, imagine being surrounded by high, snowy mountains. Arya, our little explorer, is going to Kulu and Manali for her summer holidays with her family. She absolutely loves the snow and the beautiful mountain scenery. But living in the mountains isn't always easy. It can be tough and even dangerous. As Arya and her family travel through the mountains, she speaks to her father about how hard it is to climb up the steep paths. Arya realizes that life in the mountains is challenging. There are difficult paths, low oxygen levels, and sometimes unexpected avalanches. Have you ever felt tired after climbing stairs? Now imagine climbing a huge mountain. That's what Arya feels. Her father tells her about mountaineers, brave people who climb the highest peaks of Himalayas, like Mount Everest, which is the tallest mountain in the world at 8,849 meters. It's located on the Nepal-China border. Do you know who were the first people to climb Mount Everest? They were Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay in 1953. They were very strong and trained. In India, there are special schools where people learn how to become mountaineers, like the Nehru Institute of Mountaineering in Uttarkashi and the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute in Darjeeling. Climbing mountains isn't just about being adventurous. It's also very challenging. Mountaineers need to be physically fit and mentally strong. They carry heavy equipment like ropes and oxygen tanks because as they climb higher, the air gets thinner, making it harder to breathe. It takes a lot of stamina and strength to reach the top. But for those who love challenges, mountaineering is an exciting adventure. Many brave mountaineers have climbed it. But do you know about Purna Malawat? In May 2014, at just 13 years old, she became the youngest Indian and the youngest female in the world to climb Everest.
Wow, that's amazing.
Isn't it? Purna comes from a small village called Palaka in Telangana. Her parents work as laborers in the fields, and she studied in a government school. She wasn't from a rich family, but her teacher saw her potential and encouraged her to join an expedition. She learned rock climbing in Telangana and later trained at the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute in Darjeeling. To climb mountains like Everest, mountaineers need special gear and equipment. They wear warm clothing to protect themselves from the cold, and they carry oxygen cylinders because the air gets thinner the higher they go. They also pack iron tablets, vitamin C, energy-rich food like breakfast bars, and hot chocolate to keep their strength up.
That sounds like a lot of things to carry.
Yes, it's quite a load. Mountaineers also need special tools like ropes, ice axes, snow goggles, camperons, which are spikes attached to their boots for walking on ice, and the carabiners to secure themselves while climbing. They even carry sleeping bags and tents for resting during their journey. But it's not just about the equipment. Mountaineers need to be mentally tough too. They develop team spirit, leadership skills, and the ability to survive in harsh conditions. They have to stay determined even when it's tough. India has a rich history of mountaineers. The first Indian to climb Mount Everest was Mr. Avatar Singh Cheema in 1965. The first Indian woman to reach the summit was Bachendri Pal in 1984. And Arunima Sinha became the first Indian amputee to conquer Everest in 2013. Each of these climbers showed immense courage and determination.
हिमालयाज में एडवेंचर और चैलेंजेस काफी होते हैं, पर जो लोग हिम्मत और डिटर्मिनेशन दिखाते हैं वो ऊंची सफलता पाते हैं। पूर्णा मालावत, बछेंद्री पाल और अरुणिमा सिन्हा जैसी माउंटेनियर्स ने ये साबित किया है कि मुश्किलें भी जीत बन जाती हैं अगर हौसला बुलंद हो।
Let me ask you a question. How many of you like to look at the night sky? What do you see there?
Moon and star.
That's right. You see the moon, the stars, and sometimes even planets. It's fascinating, isn't it? Similarly, Arya answers that she admires the sunrise and how the sun lights up the day. And she loves looking at the moon and stars at night. Then her mother tells Arya an inspiring story about Kalpana Chawla, the first Indian-born woman to travel to space. Kalpana was very curious about space from a young age and loved to stargaze just like Arya. When she was studying in school, her teacher once mentioned that there had to be no Indian woman astronaut, but Kalpana made sure that changed. After studying aeronautical engineering in Punjab, she went to the United States and earned her master's and doctorate degrees. Eventually, she joined NASA and became an astronaut. Kalpana Chawla's journey to space wasn't just a fun adventure. It was a big step in learning more about the universe. Sadly, she was one of the astronauts who lost their lives in the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster in 2003, when the spacecraft broke apart during re-entry into Earth's atmosphere.
कल्पना चावला की कहानी से हमें ये पता चलता है कि उन्होंने एरोनॉटिकल इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ाई करके नासा तक का सफ़र तय किया और स्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन में योगदान दिया। उनका मिशन स्पेस शटल कोलंबिया 2003 में री एंट्री के दौरान क्रैश हो गया था, लेकिन उनका योगदान और सफलता हमेशा याद रखी जाएगी।
Then Arya asks, what courses do we need to become an astronaut? And her father explains how Kalpana completed her studies in aeronautical engineering, a field that helps you learn about aircraft and spacecraft. This shows us how important education is in preparing for space missions. Arya finds space travel exciting and asks if it's fun to go into space. Her father explains that while it's thrilling, Space exploration also teaches us about the universe history, the solar system, and how things work in space. He also explains the difference between natural satellites like the moon and artificial satellites launched into space. Artificial satellites are used for many things like satellite television and telephone communication, weather forecasting, tracking storms and pollution, GPS navigation. Arya is curious about how these satellites are launched, and her mother explains that rockets help launch satellites into space. Once launched, these satellites orbit around the Earth just like the Moon. The first Indian satellite launched into space was Aryabhatta. After Aryabhatta, India launched many more satellites like Bhaskara, Rohini, Apple, INSAT 1A and INSAT 3E. Arya's father also tells her about famous astronauts and space pioneers such as Yuri Gagarin, the first man to go to space in 1961, Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space in 1963, Rakesh Sharma, the first Indian to go to space in 1984, Kalpana Chawla, the first woman of Indian origin in space. Arya's father also shares an interesting fact. The first animal to travel into space was a dog named Laika aboard the Soviet spacecraft Sputnik 2 in 1957. It's amazing to think how space exploration started and how far we have come. Arya then asks who develops spacecraft, and her father explains that scientists work on research and development for space programs. He mentions some key figures in Indian space history, like Vikram Sarabhai, who started India's space program, and Satish Dhawan and Nambi Narayanan, who also made significant contributions. As the day comes to an end, Arya's father reminds her how much we have learned from space exploration and how it helps us understand the universe better.
स्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन से हमें बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला है, जैसे कि सैटेलाइट से हम कम्युनिकेशन, वेदर फोरकास्टिंग और जीपीएस नेविगेशन में मदद लेते हैं। भारत के स्पेस पायनियर्स जैसे विक्रम साराभाई और कल्पना चावला का योगदान हमेशा याद रखा जाएगा। इन सब डिस्कवरीज ने हमें यूनिवर्स को और अच्छे से समझने में मदद की है।
Let's review what we have learned today. Adventure sports in the Himalayas include skiing, trekking, paragliding, and mountaineering. Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay were the first to climb Mount Everest. Purna Malawat became the youngest female to do so at just 13 years old in 2014. Mountaineers need to be physically strong and mentally tough. They use special gear like ropes and oxygen tanks to help them climb safely. Kalpana Chawla was the first Indian-born woman to go to space, and Rakesh Sharma was the first Indian astronaut. Artificial satellites are launched into space using rockets and are important for GPS, weather forecasting, and communication. India's first satellite was Aryabhatta. Space exploration has seen key figures like Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space, and even a dog named Laika, the first animal in space. The key message is that with hard work and bravery, people can achieve amazing things, whether climbing mountains or traveling into space. Thank you for joining us. Keep learning and exploring with Wood Apple Resources.